Thanks for tuning in to this watch along. While there's a break in play,
Ready? Play.
Yes, guys, definitely no break in play since we have just started the first point between Luciano Darderi and Sebastian Baez. It's a pretty great one, actually. The Italian/Argentinian Darderi approaches the net after heavy forehand, finishes it off with a volley. Lots of good storylines here. I am very glad that we're doing this match because I feel like, even though the Golden Swing is going to get a lot of attention on the channel, at least next week in Buenos Aires, because John is going to be there. So far it kind of hasn't, and probably for the whole, let's say, tennis community, Dallas and Marseille have been the more important events. I wasn't able to do shot and Paul earlier, but I know the stream was still happened. So we had some coverage of Dallas as well today. Of course, Miles has been covering it, per se at the event for the past couple of days. So you've had that as well. But I'm glad that we will also get a watch along of a Golden Swing match of the Cordoba semifinal between Luciano Darderi and Sebastian Baez. So what are some of the major storylines here? I think the biggest one, obviously, is that Luciano Darderi is going to break the top 100 if he beats Sebastian Baez today. Massive achievement for any player. For someone like Darderi, who's been somewhat close, at the top of the challenger ranks for, let's say, the past year and a half, I think that would be huge. He hasn't been super close. It's this run that's put him in this position, really. However, this year he does have a great chance, let's say, until maybe the summer, because that's when he started, made a pretty big leap and started making challenger quarters, semis almost every week at some points. So this is a good opportunity for him, the Golden Swing, and of course qualifying for Cordoba. That really helped him out. And then 3 wins in the major already. Fantastic inside and forehand now to go 40-15 up. And what I also have to say is that he actually has all his ATP major wins in Cordoba. But it's not as, it's probably not going to stay like that. It's just the event that he's played the most. He's also played Acapulco. Qualified for Acapulco, but then lost in the opening round. Hard courts, yeah, I mean, he's decent, but he's not amazing. Definitely the clays where he shines, especially with that super heavy forehand. Also very good serve, I think, for the, definitely getting more out of it than most players you're going to find at the swing, I believe. Of course, this run has also opened up some doors for him already. Even if he doesn't break the top 100 right here, right now, he might get a better chance to do it in the next few weeks. And also, he got a special exempt for Buenos Aires, so he doesn't have to play the qualifying there. In fact, he would be unable to play the qualifying today because he's still in Cordoba, which is why he got it. One thing we have to mention as well is that Luciano Darderi played Sebastian Baez last year in Cordoba in the opening round. Well, it was the opening round for Baez, I think, right? Or wasn't he a top 4 seed at the time? I actually have to check that, but I do believe that was the opening round for Baez. Yes, the second round. So for Darderi, it was actually the second match. For Baez, it was the first match. And Baez won 6-3, 6-4. Is that going to be closer this time? Who the hell knows, really? I mean, Darderi is definitely a bit of a better player since that point. Baez, I think he's more or less the same, right? I mean, he can always fire up and win one of these clay court events. Obviously, last year he was really impressive, also taking a title on hard courts. But as a whole, 3 titles in a year, that was an excellent. Let's say, he really sort of reaped whatever he could out of the ATP Tour in 2023, I think. And 2024, I mean, it's looking okay with him right now if he is able to make that Cordoba title. No rematch potentially in the final with Coria, whom he beat last year. Now Facundo Bagnis is awaiting the winner of the semifinal tomorrow. Nice angle on the backhand cross from Baez. Darderi definitely thought he was in control, but he wasn't. And also an important thing to mention about Sebastian Baez is that on the weekend he played Davis Cup in Argentina, in Rosario. And it was an interesting clash. Sebastian Baez was actually not chosen as one of the top 2 singles players for Argentina. Franz Cerundolo and Thomas Martin Echeverry were the ones. And actually, they both lost to Timofey Skatov And for the deciding rubber, instead of Echeverry, who said he was feeling like a bit fatigued even, I mean, not sure from what, but wow, I mean, that's some huge forehand power from Baez now. And sort of to speak about that, I mean, he played Dimitri Popko in the fifth rubber for Argentina, and it was a weird match. Like, he was probably the weaker player for like the entirety of it, really. Popko serves for the match. Popko is also very tense at the beginning of the first set tiebreak. However, then Baez has a streak of errors and he manages to go down 4-6. However, the forehands that were not going in, suddenly, I mean, he just takes every mid-court forehand for a winner. Suddenly, he actually manages to sort of keep trusting his biggest shot, and he managed to convert that. He managed to win the last 4 points and the match for Argentina. So, as it was a deciding rubber, that was absolutely crucial. That was a free to win for Argentina in the end, thanks to Sebastian Baez. And I think even how he's playing this week, I mean, it's probably influenced by that, right? I mean, he loses there and he arrives in Cordoba with very little confidence. Whereas right now, I mean, I would say he does have quite a lot of confidence in him. 2 days ago, beating Hugo Dellien in 3 sets, that was a pretty tough one. I think it was actually yesterday, right? Because there was rain in Cordoba, so I think Baez played twice yesterday. But then he also beats Facundo Diaz Acosta 6-3, 6-1 pretty easily. And he generally has a very good Cordoba record. 2022, he made the quarters. He beats Verdasco, Garin, and loses to Tabilo. Tabilo, who I think was then 4-1 up in the final against Ramos Vinolas, double break. So almost won that title. And also last year, as I said, he wins the title. He beats Darderi, Barrios Vera, Dellien, and Coria. So he beat Dellien on the way to the title last year. He also beat Dellien this week, and he also beat Darderi on the way to the title last year. So can he deliver the same now against the Italian, who, however, is from Argentina, was born in Argentina, and is also raised by those two schools, let's say, of this professional sport. Third game now. Luciano Darderi serving. Nothing crazy so far. There was that one great rally where Darderi defended the Baez smash, but Sebita just kept coming with the forehand pace. Even if Darderi's best shot might be the forehand, and it's like really so much better than his backhand, it's not that it's gonna, at least I hope so, that it's not gonna be spraying errors, that backhand wing, but still, whenever Baez will be able to hit inside out to his backhand, that's a good pattern for him for sure, and he has been trying to go for it so far. This one backhand crosscourt from Darderi here, barely crossing over the net, and Baez throws out the slice wide. At the same time, we also have that Dallas semifinal. The second one, of course, Paul beating Shelton earlier, and now Marcos Giron is up on Adrian Manarino, which is, well, a bit of a surprise, I guess. Great backhand drop shot from Darderi here. Really way to go in terms of turning that shot, which is a little less potent offensively, into a weapon here. Great serve out wide and just sets him up for this good angle. And he comes up with the goods. 40-15. So far, not many nerves, I would say. Like Darderi is definitely looking like he might deliver his best level here. And he kinda needs that. Like, it is possible sometimes to beat Baez if he's just spraying and his forehand again is like wobbly or something. But Baez in the golden swing, usually he's pretty strong. Cordoba, he's a very good record at. And it's not going to be easy. So Darderi does need that best level of his to get the top 100 today, simply. Again, if he doesn't, still like no big need to worry. However, of course, by the time we reach these stages at an ATP Tour event or any event really, the round-by-round point distribution goes up by quite a lot. So you kind of have to take your chances if you're in this sort of position, because from here, if he, for example, was gonna have to do it like next week, then he needs to win 3 matches again. If he wants to break the top 100, let's say in March in a challenger, he's gonna have to win 5 or 6 matches, and well, 5 at a challenger. But yeah, so basically, this is quite vital, but it's not the end of the world for him if he doesn't take it yet. This was a 40-15 opportunity to close out the third game. He misses that smash. And by the way, on the speed gun in Cordoba, we just saw his serve going at 220 kilometers an hour that day. As I said earlier, I mean, he definitely is a very good serve for sort of clay standards, but that's actually like pacey serving for any standards, really. His serving is definitely a lot more, focused on the angles and what you can get on the first ball after the serve. That's like a clay court thing, but definitely he can up the pace as well, as we just saw. And he claims the game eventually, getting a couple of like fairly cheapish errors from Baez. But yeah, it's a good start for Darderi. I like that he's not nervy. I like that he's actually delivering so far. Was anything wrong with Shelton earlier? I actually did not see the match, so I can't help you. I might, try to search on Twitter or something, but I don't know what that will give me, as of course it is not a good one. Like, generally speaking, it's pretty hard to get good info from Twitter, let's say that. Doesn't seem like people are talking about any injuries, just saying that he looked flat. Miles off. Yeah, I guess I don't really see any injury talk. But yeah, it is surprising to me. Of course, I did the watch along yesterday for Shelton against Jordan Thompson. It was such a good performance. But yeah, even someone who was talking like talking about this match a lot and doing like, a bit of a live commentary, I don't really see any injury talk on Twitter, at least. So probably not then. But it is a bit of an eye-catching result, I have to admit. Especially considering the last 2 times they played, Ben was able to win. If not easily, then definitely with a relative sense of comfort. Nurlan is there, fantastic. Ben for US #1 by year end. Taylor Fritz, he's made the quarters at the Australian Open. It's a pretty big result already. He kind of looks like he will be pretty consistent still this year. I think it could be Taylor rather than Shelton. I think for Shelton it would be good to finish like top 15, top 20. Like, I would consider that a successful season, because last year obviously he was like so based on these few big events, right? So if he's like maybe a little less, like not peaking as much, but he just gets more consistent results, I would consider this a win for Ben this year. He probably wouldn't. Like, he probably wants top 10 at the year end. Tommy Paul is also a consideration. I think Tommy is kind of not explosive enough. But for year American #1, it all depends where the where the bar is, right? Like, I don't think Tommy Paul is gonna make the ATP finals, for example. But if the bar is, let's say, number 11, 12, he is capable. So these three probably, unless Sebi Korda has like an absolute, massive breakthrough. Ghosty would not like me saying that. That's again some great clay court tennis from Darderi. And even on his weaker backhand side, I mean, he's actually confidently outplaying Baez so far. Backhand cross a couple of times here, then he switches to up the line. Baez can't quite get that forehand squash shot back in play. And yeah, this has been a very nice display of Darderi's abilities. Let's see if he can break here as well. It's a net court on the return. It kind of helps him maybe a little bit. And he overcooks that forehand at just a touch. Still one more breakpoint coming. He's trying to pump himself up. A bit windy, it seems, as well in Cordoba. I don't know if there's a real, player it favors here. Who knows? But yeah, Baez can't quite convert the early advantage that he had on his forehand side. And again, they're trading off the backhand quite a lot. And it's Baez who messes up first, it seems, although the umpire will be checking the mark. To me, it looked really close. Darderi seems convinced. And yes, the umpire shows out as well. So it's the early break for Luciano Darderi. Again, of their backhands so far, it's been Darderi who's more consistent. It's been Darderi who's more offensive, who's getting more done. And now that we get a good replay of that shot, it was clearly out indeed. So 3-1 Darderi, so far. And if he can, especially if he can grab one more game, this is a real good start. This is a start that makes you think this guy might be winning this match, and he might be breaking the top 100 as well. Obviously, it would be a pretty big opportunity for both guys in the final as well if Darderi made it. I mean, Darderi against Bagnis. Bagnis has had one ATP final, Santiago 2021, but especially after last year, I mean, you never know how many more opportunities you can get when you're 33 and you barely made the Australian Open qualifying cut. You probably think that it's done when it comes to winning ATP Tour titles, and suddenly you have this ridiculously good week. Darderi, just at the very beginning of his career, but he was never really close to this. I mean, he won one match in Cordoba last year, and that was all when it comes to his main draw ATP Tour winnings, So, I mean, he hasn't played much Cordoba and Acapulco last year when it comes to main draws, but still. It would be such a massive step and massive opportunity, but let's see if Darderi can join Bagnis first. Hitting a lot of good forehands here. Still, Baez gets to everything, but he can't get to this one. This is an example of a rally that Darderi will be finding himself really well in, right? I mean, he gets to hit like 5 forehands in a row. He gets to spread the court with it as well, and eventually he forces out the error from Baez. It's still 15-all though, because it was actually the Argentine who won the first point with a pretty tough smash. I was thinking Baez might miss it. He's such a small guy for a tennis player, but he actually made it. So anyway, 15-all. Great serve from Darderi. Can he convert? Ooh, no, because of a fantastic Baez passing shot on the run. Perhaps you could have done more with the approach. Perhaps you could have closed off the net a little bit earlier. But it's not like it was a horrific shot. It's still a great way of for Baez to like turn defense into offense here. So 15-30 now. That cheap return, which usually kind of sits up on clay, here it was like short enough to actually get Darderi into trouble. I think this is another 200 plus kilometer serve from Darderi. Well, I see the speed gun now, and it's 199, but it doesn't really matter. It's a 3-point anyway. We also get a close up of the speed gun. Nice reaction from Baez as well that we saw on replay. Sort of like, what can you do? He misses that serve down the tee, though, which I think the speed gun registered at 226. I don't know if that speed gun is right, but these are some enormous serve speeds for Darderi, I think. Even for Darderi, who, as I said, has a pretty good serve, actually. That inside out, though, he's been hitting it really well. And it usually gets an error from Baez. Gets him on the run, and so far, other than that pass, which was different because Darderi was obviously at the net and in the forecourt and just had a good corridor open down the line. When he doesn't have it, when he has to find the angle himself, sort of graph it himself, Baez has been missing mostly on these on-the-run opportunities. So a game point for Darderi to go 4-1 up, which would really be a healthy, serious lead in this set. Now it's Baez on the offense, and Darderi can't quite produce the backhand pass. It wasn't a perfect approach. There was definitely a lot of pushy action on that last forehand. I don't think he hit it too cleanly, but so it's kind of Darderi's fault on not finding that pass here. You see a bit of a replay of his footwork now, but I don't think it's this point that he just lost. I think it's probably the previous one. Some pretty crucial moments for sure. 3-1, deuce. And is Darderi about to open a big lead or not? Couple of slices here from Darderi, not looking too clean, honestly. But he saves the point with them. This time Baez hits that deep backhand, though. And it's Darderi who cracks first, trying to run around, trying to find that inside in again. Now getting some advice from his coach when using the towel. I think it's the first breakpoint for Baez, right? Pretty sure it is. But that's a huge serve again, and I think it's just going to give him the point. Yeah, 222, says the speed gun. Which again, I don't even know if it's right or not, but it could be. Like Darderi does have a very good first serve. It seems kind of high, but for example, I don't know, 220s is probably what Sabapur Tseladze serves like. Is that right? Maybe. Another huge serve, 227. Down the tee, not much that Baez can do. And perhaps that's also another argument why that 4-1 lead could be even more important for Baez here. For Baez, for Darderi, of course. Yeah, but he still can't quite get this game. Spinny return from Baez right on the baseline. Darderi again tries to run around, but the forehand just clips the net. He's been a little over eager with it sometimes, but I get that. It's his biggest weapon. He has to go for it. But it feels like the motion here especially was a little torn and another backhand error now. So one more breakpoint for Sebastian Baez. Can he find another massive serve to get out of this? It's not. It's good. It's not massive, but a cheap error from Sebastian Baez now, who tries to take over the point with the inside end, or so sort of like a run around forehand into the middle, maybe more so. And it's Baez giving away a point that he certainly didn't want here. Every single first serve recently has been like 220, 225, 222. Of course, this one is into the net, so it doesn't really count. Now the Darderi backhand is breaking down a bit. Is that like a finger cramp or something that he's showing, or is it a blister? I don't know, but yeah, I guess he's just stretching his fingers. The last few points have been quite error heavy from both guys, for sure. Second serve from Darderi, just rolls it in, and he's on the defense because of it. Sebastian Baez going to the nets, which is a choice. Yeah, and I don't really understand that. I feel like he would have done much better just still controlling the point on the forehand, but staying back and not really stepping so far out of his comfort zone. To Darderi's credit, this was also a very good lob. I think there were a few ways to win the point there, though. Go at Baez, go down the line, maybe even a sharp, soft angle cross. But yeah, I think there were a few points to win the point from here. Just not a great decision from Baez to approach after the forehand. So again, deuce, and this game, of course, with every single deuce that we get, with every single break point, game point that isn't converted, it feels even more crucial. Darderi just playing some pretty decent shape, covering the baseline there, but not letting Baez push him away from it either. And eventually he gets the error. One more game point for the potential top 100 debut. Great serve, this time more so about the angle than the serve, than the pace. However, again, he messes up when the return from Baez is just low and short. The forehand approach shot so far has not been the strongest for Darderi, even though theoretically these are the same sort of positions that he loves, right, from the baseline. However, obviously, very different technically when you're hitting it from below the net and short rather than a more usual ground stroke, if you may. So now that's a good serve down the tee again, and this one he felt more comfortable on. Yeah, this one was sitting up. This one was also like inside the court, but was really sitting up for him. And it's a very different version of the Darderi forehand that we see then. 227 again on the speed gun. And honestly, the serving has been pretty fantastic. For some reason, my feed keeps cutting to like replays of the previous points rather than the points we've just seen. It's not the first time they've done it. Now we're seeing they're very angry about missing that previous forehand, not glad about finishing that last point with a smash. But anyway, one more game point, second serve, rolls it in, has a bit of a forehand opportunity, doesn't really take it, but we're still trading. Baez going forehand down the line, and it's the Darderi backhand not at its best again. he's been sort of he's had to navigate that shot so far and like try to make sure that it's not leaking too much, but from time to time it definitely oozes poor quality, let's say. There was that one great rally in the maybe second game, third game, when he was just beating Baez in the cross-court exchange and then finding the backhand down the line, but overall it does spray quite a lot. One more deuce in what is looking like a pretty crazy game at the moment. Now he counters down the line pretty well, but it's not going to give him the point yet. He finds the angle on the forehand cross, even if it wasn't too clean. Baez stays alive though. Slice from Darderi, and Baez with a really nice forehand here. I think he should have this point. Yeah, he cleans it up with a drop shot. That's one of the best points that Baez has played so far for sure. Breakpoint down now, Darderi. Once again. Baez really took over after that for backhand slice from Darderi, which I don't even think was that bad. But yeah, I mean the Argentinian just had the courage to step into it, had the courage to really add spin and pace to it, and he manages to get another breakpoint. In a match where like the foundations for a 3-hour battle have already been laid, I think. But of course, it will depend on who's winning the games and how close it is in terms of the scoreboard. But this is a really long game. Trading backhands now, Darderi kind of barely saves himself. Still alive. Baez with a bit of a jumping backhand, and I do think he's missed it. I would agree with Darderi here. He tells the umpire that it's not even close. Let's see. Yeah, and indeed. I mean, I haven't seen the replay yet, or I haven't seen the mark per se, but just from the first view in the rally, it did seem quite far long. This replay isn't really going to tell us much, but indeed, the umpire agrees with Darderi, so we are back at deuce. He was in trouble a few times here, mostly again because of the backhand and how one of these looked super clumsy. However, he managed to get the ball back in play, and that's the most important part at the moment. Yeah, I don't like that sort of semi-open stance backhand that he sometimes goes for. It's kind of weird. It looks clumsy. The motion is like really, there's no backswing whatsoever. It's kind of snappy, if you may, which not in a good way, because I guess that can be a positive as well. Ooh, but that's a makeable return that Sebastian Baez just missed. Again, this Darderi second serve kick is all about that kick. Like it's really just rolling it in with a lot of spin. And of course, sometimes that can lead to a mistake, but Baez has been forced to hit this return like 10, 15 times in this match already, and to miss it on another break point, I think it's definitely quite painful for him. I wonder how long this game is already. I haven't seen anything like that, any stats on the screen yet. But 10 minutes, probably at least. And another missed second serve return. That's something that Baez really can't afford, because obviously the Darderi first serve is really good as well. So Let's see if he can bring up an unreturned serve or a free point of any kind on this advantage, on another chance. This time he actually plays his first serve pretty slow. It's an interesting point as well. He tries to go for the forehand inside in. Baez is there with the counter that they left him a little bit too much space. And eventually it's Baez with this baseline smash, which actually again is really good. I mean, he's smashing for his height, I think has been very good, at least so far in this match. And I think it's okay in general. Like it's not a problem. It's not a major problem in his game. Another deuce, and as I said earlier, like with every single game point, break point deuce that we get in this game, it just feels even more crucial. Yeah, Darderi approaching after that pass on forehands, that was ambitious, but it gets him the point. Sometimes that net presence and just the sheer fact that the opponent knows you're getting to the net, it can lead to an error, and I think that's kind of what happened for Baez here. Another second serve for Darderi. This time the return is in play. What can Baez cook up here? He can cook up a pretty ridiculous backhand error. So it is 4-1 Darderi after a very long game. Shuttle might fall off on clay, said Sean like 22 minutes ago. That's how long this was. But yeah, I mean, I actually think that he is going to be much better in clay than people think. Probably not as good as on hard courts, or maybe on grass in the future as well. But he does have that loopy forehand he can reset with. He also has the speed, the footwork, the athleticism. So I think he's gonna do okay. Kudermetova the most stylish WTA player in what sense? In terms of her game? I don't know. I don't really see that. I don't know who my answer would be if it is in terms of the game, but it goes to some funny comments. But yeah, this also tells me how long that game was, because I remember talking about the Darderi lob, and it was at least 10 minutes ago when Ghosty commented this. So. Yeah, they both dropped in the rankings trying to win this game. For Darderi, that would be pretty devastating if because that game was so long, he drops in the rankings and he's actually not playing for a top 100 debut anymore. But yeah, pretty nice that we might get two top 100 debuts this week. One of them being Darderi, and the other, well, one is guaranteed tomorrow in the Chennai final. Either Luca Nardi or Sumit Nagal will break the top 100. One of them will, one of them won't, depending on who wins the match. Darderi, of course, that match is irrelevant to him. Darderi, it's literally win this match and you get there. Which for now, I mean, he is 4-1 up. Hasn't been maybe the most confident 4-1 lead that I've seen, but he has been the better player. I think we can say that. Some of the enforced errors that Baez is putting in, like this one just a second ago, they are kind of inexcusable. And of course, a few of them ended that previous game as well. or at least didn't allow him to break with the missed second serve returns and the last backhand. But now even on his forehand, he was trying to go for just a regular cross shot, and it's like 2 meters out. Let's see. Darderi giving him the slice again, and Baez just. I think this was actually just a matter of sort of not trusting his shot selection here. I think he had a few ideas in mind after the Darderi slice. It wasn't as easy for him to attack it as it was previously when it was at his forehand. But now on the backhand, he just ends up playing this very weird slice down the line himself, which was so far out. So Baez in some serious trouble here. 15-30. Yeah, that's gonna be way too short though. But Darderi gets it back in play. Darderi played this very short backhand return, and he was almost punished by Baez, but he saves himself with a moonball and actually steps into his backhand down the line here. So that's a really good point eventually for him, even if the quality of that short return, it really should have ended the point, kinda. Not Baez's fault either that he didn't smash it. Like, this literally landed on the baseline. I think most players wouldn't smash it. That's wild. We are 2 breakpoints now. Again, Darderi is giving Baez a short ball with the backhand, and it's not enough for Baez to produce anything. Like, he just finds another error, Yeah, I mean, he's falling apart here. In the last 7 or 8 points, he's definitely falling apart here. And Darderi leads 5-1. You kind of have to back him to win at least one more game, right? I mean, of the next 4, especially if he can keep serving like he has been so far, with a number of 3 points, with a number of 220 plus first serves. Interesting dropper from Darderi here. I think it should give him the point. Yes, indeed. The surprise factor was definitely there. It's not a situation where he usually plays it, I think. I was surprised, and Sebastian Baez was probably surprised as well. So I would say the factor was for sure there. 15 love for Darderi, who also had to clean this up with very decent slice down the line. Big serve here. Again goes for the dropper because he missed a few approach shots like this earlier, but this time it's just more of a bailout shot. Like, you could see that he just wasn't comfortable hitting the +1 winner, hitting the +1 approach shot from a ball like this, and he kind of overplays it here by striking it down with some really good foot speed. $227 on the first serve again, even if it wasn't in. He's been very reliable at hitting these 220s, 227s, 225s. Obviously not when he adds like more shape on the serve, but most of the time he's going for that flat one. Or in his case, like 90% flat. Nice! What a reaction. I mean, I was saying earlier that these sort of semi-open stance backhand that he hits, I mean, they just look super clumsy. But here, this actually works in his favor, I think. Baez, there was no way for Baez to really expect this backhand counter here, especially in that direction. And because Darderi has this like super compact motion that he often goes for, he really didn't sell it to like Baez at all. Like Baez had no idea. Darderi is inviting the umpire to look at the Baez return, and it is out 6-1. I mean, what a horrific Sebastian Baez set. However, again, you gotta like how Darderi is playing this. Like he's really come out and he's not, pooping the bed. He's definitely there with the level. He's giving a good account of himself, and the one set away from breaking the top 100 at the moment. What else was there in the chat? Let's see. So am I surprised by Bagnis beating Korea in straight sets? I think there wasn't really any results to be surprised potentially by in this match. Who was the favorite for me? Maybe pretty close. But Bagnis, the thing about him, I think, and especially this week, of course, but in general, is that he's like very versatile in terms of the fact that he can blow these guys off the court with the heavy lefty forehand with the big serve, but at the same time he can also outgrind them, and it's a really good package. Obviously, the guy has been 55th in the world. He's made an ATP Tour final before. I guess I wasn't really expecting him to be again this good after last year when he barely made the Australian Open qualifying cut. But I think when he won Buenos Aires in January, it was kind of obvious that, well, Bagnis is actually going to have a bounce-back season. Now, whether I thought that this bounce-back season would include an ATP Tour final, obviously not. But by the time he made the semis, I think there wasn't really any result to be surprised by in the Bagnis-Coria match. I wonder what their head-to-head was as well. I don't actually even know, but they must have played a billion times. Yeah, they did. Yeah, looks like Bagnis has a small lead. But, if you think about it, they're actually pretty similar, I think, in terms of their age. And, well, Korea has been a bit more established at the higher level sort of the last few years. But as a whole, Bagnis has had a very illustrious career as well. And I'm glad that he's getting another shot. I don't know if he's going to take it. I think against Baez, he has a very good chance. Against Darderi, it's maybe a little more tricky for him even. Baez, to me, it would be a pretty similar matchup for him as Korea was, as also Munar was. Maybe someone with a bigger forehand than these guys, but still someone that sort of this week Bagnis has been showing that he can outgrind as well. I mean, he's beaten Carbaez Baena, Munar, Coria, he's really beating all of these Argentinian and Spanish clay goats, if you may, and it's impressive. Yeah, 4-2 for Bagnis now in the head-to-head against Coria. To Korea's credit, though, they kind of never played in Korea's best years. So like 2022, 2023, when Bagnis was maybe falling behind a bit. But yeah, what a season so far for Facundo Bagnis. Do we have any faith in Baez in this match? Asks Jay Brizzle. He definitely has to start playing better for this to happen because, well, the amount of errors that he's put in so far, just how all over the place he's been. I guess for someone like Baez, like the way I always look at him and his results and matches is that when he's he kind of doesn't have good enough, like the weapons aren't good enough, the weapons aren't reliable enough in order for him to sort of win when he's in that BS mode as here. Like when he's playing like this, he kind of can't win. However, at the same time, like he's fully capable of turning it on just randomly, right? It's just that when it's not clicking, like he kind of can't rely on his aggressive shots. But I think he is also capable of turning it on any minute, really. Darderi hasn't been killing him, all that hugely important fifth game of the match, was it? Yeah, fifth game of the match. If it goes Baez's way, who the hell knows? I mean, maybe, well, we're probably still in the first set. Maybe we are at 4-3, for example. So, it didn't need to be a 6-1, but certainly the last few points of that game and then the next few as well, Baez just fell apart completely. This is good. This is better, though. This is the second point of the second set. Might be his best rally yet. The way he was able to spread the court and eventually finish it off with the forehand inside out as well. Sorry, inside in. Darderi collapsed his racket as well. Yeah, I mean this was good. This was the sort of tennis that Sebastian Baez wants to be playing here. So like proactive, but not pulling the trigger too early and just really relying on the strengths that he possesses, not trying to counteract them a bit as he was in the opener. Great angle on the forehand return from Darderi, though. Yeah, BS mode. I just feel like if you have a big weapon that you can always rely on, whatever that is, it can be the serve, it can be the forehand, it can be whatever, even the slice, maybe, like we can call it a weapon. Let's say you're Grigor Dimitrov, right? Game isn't working out for you, and then you still have something to like rely on. And Baez kind of doesn't have it, so sometimes it can be hard for him to just consistently win matches. And I think that's why well, besides obviously his obvious sort of surface disparity between the clay game, the hard game that he has. However, I feel like that's also part of why like he often goes on losing streaks, winning streaks, and just kind of knows how to play when he's ahead, when he's confident, when he's hitting well. But it can be a bit rough when he doesn't, when he can't. And I think it's the case for many other players. I think especially for Baez, maybe because he's such an attacking player. Actually, people don't really think of that because, like, obviously growing up, getting to the tour, he was compared to Diego Schwartzman a lot, mostly because of the height and the clay prowess. But they actually don't play similarly. Like Baez is such an forehand attacking player. Like literally, that's his game. And if you're really reliant on that sort of game style, and at the same time, of course, you're pretty lightweight, you're pretty small, I think that is an issue. That sort of course, Baez has already had some fantastic achievements, but can we actually see him, let's say, taking the next step? Can we see him breaking to the top 20, for example? Can we see him picking up an ATP 500 title or an ATP 1000 final title? It's rough. I mean, it's going to be hard to do. Maybe a 500, if he wins Rio, for example, would we be surprised? Maybe yes, given that this year we have Carlos Alcaraz there, right? But yeah, I think there are some issues definitely stopping him from, let's say, taking it to the very next level. Obviously, some guys like Marco Cecchinato, Christian Garin made the top 20. He's definitely capable of that. He's definitely capable of winning more titles. But how does he sort of go above that? How does he win something bigger? It's a pretty unique dilemma as well. Like I don't really think there are that many other players who are fairly lightweight but really love to attack on the forehand and just try to base their game around that. Most of the time, your physicality influences your playstyle as well. I know there are a lot of sort of like, yeah, Asian juniors who sort of grow up being underpowered, but they play different tennis than Baez. They have that feel for the ball. They have the timing. I can't really compare him to a guy like, I don't know, Mochizuki. But yeah, some much better stuff from Baez in the early days of the second set anyway. That's precisely the sort of tennis that he loves here. Eventually clinching this with the inside-out forehand winner. Hit a couple of good forehands, spread the court, get Darderi moving, take your opportunity. And when he's able to play like this without getting one of these horrific errors from the end of set one, he's gonna be dangerous. And he's dangerous here. Darderi thinks he has this. Darderi thinks he finds this inside-out forehand, and he clearly is going to be the dominant force in the point. However, Baez is there with this very interesting backhand counter down the line. Like, it's just, again, sort of like the Darderi open stance that he hits. Just uses the pace that Darderi throws at him and actually produces the angle. And he also wins the next point. So Sebastian Baez, 2 games to love up. There was a net court that kind of helped Darderi. Darderi had a +1 forehand that he followed up to the net. And eventually the point ends with Sebastian Baez lob winner. So 2 games to love up. Definitely much stronger start than whatever he was doing at the end of set 1. And let's see if he can keep this going. Yeah, I mean, now we're talking. Now Sebastian Baez is finding it all. +1 forehands, smash again. As I said, for his height, definitely a pretty good smasher too. And let's see if Darderi can stop the bleeding, because the last 5 games have been all Baez. And now Baez is even recovering when Darderi finds that backhand down the line. He's really playing so well right now, but he actually misses the last shot. Darderi defending here, really running for his life. But what a direction from Baez here. Such a smart play to go down the line with the forehand here. And it's really been a fantastic 10 minutes of tennis from Sebastian Baez. I'm saying this after like every point now, but he's delivering it with every single point now. Darderi was defending pretty well here, and I think especially after that backhand down the line, you would think that he will be at least back to semi-neutral, let's say, at the point. But no, I mean, Sebastian Baez. Now a deep return from Darderi. It gives Baez a lot of issues. Obviously, he wants to take that forehand relatively early. He wants to attack with it, and when he gets a ball like this, kind of hard to take over. 30-all. Baez would love to get that free love lead here and just sort of have something to show for that patch of tennis that he's been playing the last 10 minutes. But that's a flop. That's a big mistake here. He tries to attack the net after the +1 forehand. To Darderi's credit, the pass is pretty okay. It's dipping low over the net. It is at Baez. He has to sort of get away from the ball even. He doesn't make the volley, so Darderi has a break point a bit out of nowhere. And yeah, Baez will be pissed if he doesn't find at least an advantage of a break here after the patch that he's had. And it's another very deep return from Darderi, very deep and heavy. He is in control of the point. Can Baez defend? Baez is back. Backhand down the line now. Darderi with the forehand counter. A little bit ambitious, yeah, that backhand, that drop shot from Baez, and Darderi gets to it. Some really good movement as well from the Italian here. The way he was able to counter that forehand on the slide, open stance, and then also, even to the last shot, he kind of had to slide towards it and still get good control on the ball, which he did. And Baez actually loses that break lead, despite playing, some insane tennis the past 10 minutes. So, disappointing for him. Yeah, ghosty about the Darderi backhand. Yeah, he does play it like really compact a lot of the time. I was talking about it earlier too. I don't like it, but earlier he actually produced a very good counter out of it down the line. From time to time, he comes up with something at least. In this match, it hasn't been a massive liability, but it could be. It could be for sure. I'm surprised you've only had one Sebi Corda comment so far, Ghosty, but yeah. I guess you'll let this go until Sebi has one more loss. Although today he actually lost in the doubles. I'm sure you were watching as one of the biggest fans of the guy on the planet. He was playing the doubles semi-final in Marseille with Vasil Kirkov against Thomas Machac and Zhizhen Zhang. So that very exciting semi-finalist pair from the Australian Open, Machac and Zhang, they actually made the Marseille final as well. I think they're going to play. I should know this. Oh, Patrick Nicolas Salminen and Emil Rusuvuori. The Finnish duo. No jokes about Finnish this time. Uh, although they are funny. Don't tell John, but they are funny. Let's see if Darderi can also consolidate and really get back to level terms in the second set. Wow. And now he fires another backhand down the line winner. Sort of inside out as well. Baez completely stunned. Now he got the scouting report on Darderi. They told him that the backhand is awful. Yeah, kinda is, but he's been able to make it effective so far. Obviously, he didn't need the scouting report. I mean, he's played Darderi. I think the only match was Cordoba last year, but I would have to check. But I do think that the same event last year was their only encounter so far. Oh, by the way, I haven't checked in ages how Giron and Manarino are doing. And in fact, Marcos Giron won that match 6-1, 6-3. I mean, what the hell is this guy playing in Dallas? He's been insane there the past 3 editions, really. And he's going to face Tommy Paul in that All-American semifinal. Final, of course. Yeah, semifinals, of course. We're watching today. But now, out of 30 love for Darderi, it's actually Baez who might look up a break somewhat out of nowhere. 228 kilometers an hour on the first serve from Darderi, or at least so the speed gun says. But Baez gets a deep return in, and he manages to make Darderi shrunk. So a breakpoint for the Argentinian to get back to a lead, which in this set it would feel deserved. Let's say that. Nah, but that's the best forehand that he hit this match, I think. Just ups it completely out of nowhere. He ups the intensity on it. He switches direction, and there's nothing Baez can do. Even if it wasn't like very perfectly placed, just the sheer wrist acceleration here, the snap on it. It didn't need to be placed better than this. It was perfectly fine where it was. So back to deuce now. Baez trying to go for another deep return, but I think it will be out. Or actually, no. Seems that Darderi is agreeing with the initial call after all, after inspecting the mark. Yes, indeed. So it is another breakpoint for Baez now. Must have just barely clipped the baseline. Big serve. But Baez saves himself and gets an opportunity to crack the forehand. Yes, he does. Moonball-ish return, and then he just steps into it, fires the... Well, I don't know if it was a winner. I actually don't know if Darderi got to it before the second bounce, but anyway, it was a forcing point-winning shot. So again, Baez with the break. Darderi eats a tennis ball, just puts it into his mouth. Are they going to be playing now with it? I suppose they will. Still 5 more games before the break. So before the new balls are introduced. Let's see if Baez can actually get to a 4-1 lead here, similar to what Darderi had last time, of course. And yeah, he's still playing so much better than in the opening set. Finds a forehand +1 winner here. And just like in the opener, 4-1 would feel pretty massive. In fact, maybe we can get an exchange of breadsticks from the guys. Who knows? It's definitely been a bit of a patchy affair. Lots of errors like the one that Baez just missed. But at the same time, you had this 10-minute patch of him playing some excellent clay court stuff. Darderi has been kind of more steady, just playing at a solid quality without these peaks and valleys. Now let's see who gets more out of the backhand exchange. Darderi with the slice. Baez still attacking. Backhand drop shot. I think it's not going to be good enough. But eventually he's still winning the point though. The redrop from Darderi. But Baez is there. Good, really good touch. He is better in that cat and mouse rally here. I think that he could have done more. Chooses to redrop, but maybe there was an angle cross court still by the time he got to the ball. That's an ace for Sebastian Baez as well. So 40-15 now. Very close to getting that 4th game on the board in the second set. And potentially very close to leveling the match as well. I mean, 4-1. Let's see if he can claim it. Not yet. We're back to the wild +1 forehands, but there's still one more game point. To really sort of make this set compared to the first one, now they would have to play like a 20-minute game here, which is still a possibility, needless to say, but not if Baez can win the next point. And will he? Yes, he will. This time there's no wildness, there's no flow in the +1 forehand, which he just cleans up easily. 4-1, playing so much better than in the opener. In fact, I mean, if you get Baez playing at this level until the end of the match, it would be hard for Darderi to respond to it in any way, I think, other than maybe finding some ridiculous serves. But of course, it might not last. And as we said earlier, it's not always that easy for Baez to maintain this sort of level. I will let you finish. That's actually Google Translate kind of messing it up for you, Ghosty, because, yeah. But I guess you wanted that, right? Or maybe, yeah, I guess you were just making that joke. There are some fun things like that with Google Translate. I guess another thing is that, for example, in if you put in fly, it's too long a story. Never mind. Never mind. It's something about Russian, Polish, and English, but never mind. It's too long a story about the word fly and to fly, basically, which in the Russian or Polish language are not similar. However, of course, in English they are fly and to fly. Never mind. Nori's backhand feels flamboyant and proud, whereas Darderi's is closed and cold. Interesting. I don't know if he hates himself, but he does not feel too comfortable on the backhand side for sure. So maybe it's just the backhand that he hates. A bit more of Sebi Korda talk on the chat. Happens every time with Ghosty, although this time he did not bring it. I kind of did. And then Sean. It's a fun point here as well. Baez getting some really good angles in. He will have to track down a lob from Darderi, or rather he will try, but he will not make it. But yeah, if he gets broken here, Darderi, we might just see a repeat of the first set in terms of the breadstick. If he doesn't, still a healthy lead for Baez, but he will be keeping himself in it at least. Another big serve gives him the point here. This time a lot more about the out-wide angle, so it's just 180 kilometers an hour, but to me that's a better serve actually than some of these 220s that he's been hitting. I was playing myself earlier today, and I don't know why I'm talking about this, but I actually had like one of my best ever serving days, especially in terms of the ace potential. I wonder how many games on serve I had, but I hit like 4 aces, which for me is pretty huge. I still don't consider myself a good server, but at least when you find that good angle, like on the line, out wide, or maybe down the tee, it's good if it has any real, way of giving you a 3 points just every now and then. Basically, if you get it on the line, but still, it is of big help, of course. I think it must have been like 14 games, I think. No. On serve, of course. Not as a whole. Well, Baez fell down low 40 here pretty quickly. However, he has now since recovered to 30-40. Lots of inventiveness as well right now. The drop shot, then the pass. He's playing a lot more freely. Obviously, the advantage that he has on the scoreboard helps with that. And especially since he fell low 40 here, he kind of just started going for it and choosing different options. And now he's back at deuce, despite a very good serve for Darderi, which again he can't quite capitalize on. He's not as good at taking advantage, sort of as converting the advantages positions than he is with that serve in general, because the serve is really good. But yeah, he can't always get everything out of it. He can't always maximize what he gets out of it. So we are at deuce, and once again, we are sort of in that potential breadstick territory, potential breadstick exchange territory. But not after Baez hits this forehand down the line, return into the net. I would like them to finish, again, let's say in the next 75 minutes or something, because there's a challenger final coming up in Australia. However, I think it's also after an ITF final on the women's side, so it might be a bit longer. Sebi Korda Day? When would a Sebi Korda Day be? I wonder when his birthday is, but it has to be something better, right? July 5th. Ooh, that would be good, the 4th of July and then the 5th of July. There's like an extended federal holiday. The 4th of July, obviously, one day, and then on the 5th, you've got the Sebi Korda Day. And of course, on the 5th of July, he's still at Wimbledon. He's still in the latter stages of Wimbledon and really close to winning the title by then. That's the future for Sebi Korda. Although he might have to win Wimbledon first in order to get that 5th of July Sebi Korda Day, especially as a national holiday, And it also could be a national holiday both in the States and in the Czech Republic, maybe. There will be like a charity golf event organized on the day with his sisters in attendance. I mean, Ghosty, to be fair, he was in the 4th round and he lost 10-8, I think, to Kachanov a couple of years ago. So it's not like he can't get there. That looks to be a quick game for Baez, 40 love up. Nothing special really, but Darderi just hitting a few shots. He was trying to be aggressive on return, but it never really panned out for him in this game. And now it's Baez 5-2 up, and with 3 chances potentially to claim the second set and send us into the decider. It's been a pretty fast-paced match still, for a clay court battle, I think. But that's mostly because the games have been short, right? It actually hasn't been all that short. It's just that, sorry. I'm messing up because I'm a bit tired, but yeah, what I was trying to say is that actually the games have been pretty long. However, we just haven't had the volume of games in order to make this match a 3-hour clay thriller. Although it's still open to the players. Of course, if Baez would win the second set 7-6, for example, instead of 5-3, 5-4, 5-2. 6-2, 6-3, 6-4. But we'll see. Now it's Darderi, of course, trying to serve to stay in the set. I actually don't think Kyrgios's career is a failure. I think sometimes people still say that when Nick Kyrgios, like if he had a full healthy season, then we would see, and like then we would have encountered the peak version of Kyrgios. However, I think we kind of did, in 2022, and it was a good version. Like it was a top 10 player. He wasn't in the top 10 in the rankings per se. He still didn't play many events. I think it was like 7 or 8 really. But maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it was like 10, 12 ish. However, what I'm trying to say is that he was actually really good in all of them. He had a very consistent patch. He had some really good results. But then again, you still had the sort of matches like against Paul Jab, matches like against, at Wimbledon, like against Brandon Nakashima. So it wasn't like he was uber dominant. He's never going to dominate the circuit. But I think we did get at least that 1 year of peak Nick Kyrgios. And I'm not really on the team that would call it a failure, probably. Although, obviously, if the guy wasn't crazy in the head, he probably would have had a more stable career, at least. Yeah, let's see what Darderi can bring to the court here in the 2-5 game. Baez with the backhand drop shot. Ooh, but Darderi plays this very deep shot out of it. There's not really a good choice for Baez here. You can let it bounce, but then you kind of have. I think it would be Darderi with the tempo advantage on top of the net, and Baez just tries to take it with a volley while standing on the baseline. It rarely ends well. Yeah, and with that makeable second serve return, I think Baez is kind of giving away this game. Obviously, not on purpose, but it does feel like at this point he will just try holding and he will just try taking it on serve. Good angle on the serve as well here from Darderi, but he messes this up with the forehand dropper that Baez just tracks down as if it's nothing, and it kind of was nothing-ish. Last time we had a Darderi service game, he actually was 14 of up as well, and then it was deuce a few points later. So he will be hoping to avoid that here, and I think he does with an ace. So 5-3 up for Sebastian Baez still. He gets his chance now. He gets his opportunity to serve out the second set, send us into the decider, and just put a bit more pressure on Darderi as well, since, well, I guess both players really want to, well, every time we have a tennis match, obviously both players want to win. Like both players have their reasons for which they kind of have to win in a way. Baez being the favorite, defending champ, and all that. Darderi, of course, fighting for that top 100 debut, which will only happen if he manages to beat Baez today. Hopefully, he's not thinking about it too much, though, especially as the next 2 months or so will still be a big opportunity for him. He's not exactly, down bad and like this is the last possible chance yet. But as I said earlier, like it's not easy to gain as many points as you can by just winning one match at this stage of an ATP Tour event. in another one, in a challenger, you might actually have to win 3 or 4, or maybe even 5. So can Baez just cruise to this game and take that 6-3 set? So far, so good. 2 points on the board already. Double fault here, though. Yeah, I can get that. Yeah, Kyrgios being annoying to people who care, who put in the work, and then someone else comes in. That was kind of why some people, at least, didn't like me in school. Actually, so maybe I can relate to that from the other side of the barricade. Um, 2 set points now, as Darderi can't quite chase down that Baez drop shot. 2 set points for Sebastian Baez, who definitely played a much more cohesive, comprehensive, whatever batch of tennis. Backhand cross, forehand, goes to the net, will not have to play a smash. 6-3 Baez, 1 set all. Obviously, the momentum is with the Argentinian, who kind of showed that his best level is probably something that Darderi will be struggling to respond to. And it's mostly a question of whether Baez can keep coming up with this, whether he can actually keep sort of sending out these big forehands and playing a lot more aggressively than Darderi while still keeping the error count moderately low, at least. But yeah, that was a very good Sebastian Baez set for sure. And especially after the last few games of the opening set just run away from him so quickly, it's important for him. As we've said a few times already, Facundo Bagnis is awaiting in the finals. Both guys will feel like they have a good shot against him. Well, Darderi, given that you rarely get a Darderi Bagnis final at the ATP level, right? But Baez especially will again feel like a favorite. I don't know if actually that will be right, since, well, Bagnis to me is very capable of beating him. But Weltschert title, it's a tough discussion, because in many cases, I think if you win a title which was weak, you kind of scheduled yourself, right? Or like, I don't know, you were there to pick up the pieces when other players weren't, and why should it be less impressive? Why should it be treated less, as something less? But then at the same time, if you have, let's say, a good example would be Richard Gasquet last year. He has that Auckland title at the beginning of the season, which until the final he kind of does nothing for, and then he's just horrific until the end of the year. And he already was not a top 100 player despite being there due to these 250 points. So I would say that, yeah, sometimes, I mean, your level isn't really good enough to claim a title, but some opportunities come your way. Of course, in Cordoba, there's been a fair few random titleists: Juan Ignacio Londero, Juan Manuel Cerundolo. I think Cerundolo, especially, it's just a game that has never really been able to give him anything in the long run at the ATP Tour level. Right now, he's not even dominating challengers anymore. And with that moonballish style and how windy it was in Cordoba that year, it did feel like a bit of a Veltred title, if you may, even though the quality of the opposition he faced actually wasn't that bad. But maybe instead of Veltred, we can just say just kind of random and better than your actual game, like when the results start being better than your game, than your potential. Londero to me is not exactly the same, because Londero I think he actually had proper ball striking talent. Obviously, right now he can't quite even like get his body right and have an extended patch of play. But Lundero is a bit different. But yeah, like a Segundo Cordoba run maybe, or a Gasque Auckland run last year. Maybe less so also at the ATP level, but even at the ATP level, you have a few of these 250s every year that are weaker. Cordoba is mostly one of them, but like Newport especially. Newport is not going to be on the calendar soon, but it's always one of the weakest. At the challenger level right now, for example, a couple of weeks back, you had this double week in sort of double event in Bernie, back to back weeks, and it's literally just Australians and Japanese players. So if you win a title there, it's definitely worth less in the common perception than if you win in Europe, especially, but even in South America or North America, when like the first few seeds tend to be pretty good, but the depth of the field usually sucks. So I think, yeah, there are some titles that cannot be treated the same. I mean, they are treated the same in terms of the rankings, the prize money, the history books, the stats, everything. But if you're like truly analyzing someone's season results, you're not going to be looking at them the same. Pum, 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 pum. Newport is going away after this year, I believe. Yeah, I wish it stayed on the calendar, but obviously it is an event that is problematic, to say the least, because there's no real good opportunity to have it. Because if you just have it, let's say, even outside of the grass season, pre or post Wimbledon, let's say outside of that patch, no one is going to want to play it because it's just a random event on the surface. You're not training on at that part of the year. You're not competing on at that part of the year. If you put it pre Wimbledon, the field might be even weaker because if you put it pre Wimbledon, then everyone wants to be in Europe to prepare for Wimbledon. So that's not going to work really. And when it comes to putting it post Wimbledon, obviously that generates the issues that we see with it. So it's kind of an event that doesn't have a purpose at the moment. But yeah, of course, it would be nice to keep that going and just have an event at the Hall of Fame. A grass court event on the ATP tour without like not being in Europe right now, it's just kind of impossible to fit it in. There's no good. There's never going to be a good moment, a good date to have it. Even on the Challenger Tour, I mean, if you put some grass courts in, you're not gonna find any good spots really. Like it would result in some very weak events. ITFs, there are a few. There are a few in Japan. Sometimes in Australia as well. I don't think it massively impacts the quality of the draws there. But yeah, outside of Europe, it's just very hard to pull off a grass event because of how short that swing is and how you can't really play Newport and then, let's say, next week have Wimbledon. Or you can. I mean, it is theoretically possible, just practically very tough to pull off for the players, and no one would want to do that. One more minute before the end of the toilet break, which has been quite excessive, to say the least. Yeah, why do we need the new port if the old port is good? It's, sometimes we just buy all these better things, despite our previous sort of appliances, let's say, was still being okay and still being usable, right? we have this saying in Polish, which I don't know if it actually has any English translation, and that's lepsze jest wrogiem dobrego, which basically means that something better is the enemy of something that's still good. And I suppose that's the thing with Newport and Oldport. The toilet break counter has been stopped, apparently. I'm not sure for what reason, since I still don't see Darderi on the court. Of course, he's the one to try to get a bigger reset, if you may. He's the one who tried to just take off for a while, come back with more sort of energy, with new ideas maybe as well. But yeah, I still don't see him on the court. So it's actually been a very, very long break by now. And now he's in the tunnel, so we will get some play in a couple of minutes. Well, in a couple of minutes. I more so meant like a minute. Yeah, as I said, sorry, I'm a bit tired by now. But I have this challenger final later that I have to watch anyway, so it's not like I would be going to bed at the moment. Yeah, pretty much that. Don't let the great to be the enemy of the good. Yeah. Is there Finnish Open? I mean, there is a challenger in Helsinki. I don't think it's called the Finnish Open. It's called like Tali Open or something like that, because it's held in Tali Keskus. I think it's like part of the name of the venue. I was there 3 years ago. 3 years ago, yeah, I think 3 years ago, and Alex Molchan won the title there that year. So it's a big event in the Ghosty household, if you may. But Finnish Open, I don't think that exists. There's also a challenger in Tampere, but again, I don't think it's called the Finnish Open. I think it's just Tampere Open. It's one of the longest running challengers on the calendar. It's like 30 or 40 editions by now. And we are back. Let's see if Darderi can keep up with Baez, because in the second set he kind of wasn't. It was all Baez and his forehand from some point. But now he gets a backhand error of the Argentinian's racket, 30-15. Obviously just getting a game here, starting the set better than he did the opener, where he was, than the second set, where he was always on the back foot. That would be really helpful for the Italian right now. Nice. That's one of the best forehands he's hit in a while. I was actually about to say that Darderi hasn't had like a very impressive point in a while. That he kind of hasn't had a moment when he actually has done something special. because most of the time recently it's really been about Baez. Like Darderi's just kind of putting balls back in play, pretty heavy, but nothing insane. However, this was that forehand cross was actually that special moment that I was waiting for a little bit. Doesn't feel like the Darderi serve is doing as much damage as it was earlier on either. And he could really use a 3 point here. 40-30, Baz still sort of just keeping himself in it potentially if Darderi cannot claim the next point. So yeah, it's a big one for the Italian to try to get that game and just find a better start than it's set to. But it's the second serve now. Still hasn't double faulted, I think, or maybe just once. In fact, I don't think he has. He is like rolling these serves in, but at least he's doing it with good consistency. It's the worst thing when you're just trying to roll it in and you still make a double fault. But we are at deuce anyway, as nothing is coming for free to Darderi right now. Well, and just as I said it, Sebastian Baez throws out the return. It doesn't feel like the strength of the Darderi serve is as high as it was in the opener, but it did give him like one of the first 3 points in a while now. So one more game point for him. And he claims it. Another 3 point actually. Another return that Baez can't get in play. So first game is there, and now he gets every single time he holds in this set, he gets a bit of a freebie on the Baez serve. We'll see if he can actually start maybe taking initiative a little bit more. Because giving it away to Baez in the second set, it definitely led to his demise a little bit. Morton. Jen with a bit of a cosplay of the Finnish language, which is definitely quite weird. I like how, I don't know if you guys know it, but they, the Finland has two official languages, so Finnish and Swedish, and actually all the, let's say, city names, for example, all that sort of signage, it has to be in both languages. It's a pretty interesting fact about Finland. Even though I think only 6% of the population has Swedish as their mother tongue, but that's what they have there. But yeah, of course, it's a very different language family. Swedish more so with Norwegian, Danish, maybe even German. Whereas Finnish is part of that super weird group with Hungarian and Estonian. It's a really nice forehand pass from Darderi. Back to 15-all now. The footwork there was pretty hard to pull off. He actually does it with this very snappy swing. Nice athleticism to even get back into position for that one. 15-all now on the Sebastian Baez serve. And he misses the +1 forehand. So Darderi will be feeling like he might have his chances. Maybe he can instill doubt in Baez again, just like he did in the first set. And just not let the Argentinian, play that free-flowing attacking game from the second set. A lot will depend on this rally, which is pretty long. Yeah, Darderi doesn't do enough with the backhand, and then he's already out of position, and with every shot it gets gradually worse. With every single Baez shot, he gets gradually just pushed away from the court, can't recover eventually, and this time Baez does not waste any time on that forehand kill shot. So 30-all. Aye, aye, aye. Darderi trying to go for a very deep forehand return. Appreciate the idea, but he just misses it. And that's a pretty nice Sebastian Baez serve. I think the Darderi return is out, although we will have some inspection from the umpire, and it's actually in, so it's gonna be a replay, despite Sebastian Baez being very much in control of that point. But because of the out call, the point will have to be replayed. That was one of the best serves that Baez hit all match, really, but doesn't have anything to show for it. And now he will have to rally for that point again. But he will win it. Darderi trying to switch to inside in, find a potentially forcing shot on the forehand side, but it's not as dangerous as he would have wished for. One game all. We are tied in the early moments of the deciding set. Baez with a fairly sloppy forehand to go down. Forehand, sorry. Backhand, obviously. Yeah, the big serves of Darderi no longer giving him anything that's super easy. Sometimes Baez will miss the return, but it feels like also the frequency of these 220 km/h serves has decreased. I don't know if this is Darderi getting a bit wary or not. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, sometimes even these 180s, 190s, if they are carefully placed, just like there, that one was on the outside, out wide, but still won't be able to make the return, understandably. Down the line as well now, and 40-15 up. So one error from Baez, two unreturned serves. And of course, if he can keep getting something like that, like two unreturned serves a game, that would be a massive boost to Darderi's chances of winning the match. Maybe it's even three unreturned serves. Yeah, indeed, it's three unreturned serves in a row. So two on Darderi, an express hold. I don't think it's sustainable to be hitting three unreturned serves in a game for him right here, but maybe two, and that would already be pretty huge for his chances of winning the match. Yeah, we're still live, John. Darderi was going to wrap this up in straights. Yeah, there was never really a moment for him to do it. Baez's second set was just really dominant, firing forehand winners kind of at will and not letting Darderi have any fun. Darderi didn't really have a way of responding to all that. And he still doesn't, but right now he's just getting two or three unreturned serves a game in the third set, which, yeah, would really help him out. I'll check how that Bernie, or I think it is. Yeah, I think it's also, yeah, of course it's also in Bernie because it interacts with the Challenger final. I'll check how that WTA or actually rather ITF final is going, so that I know if the challenger will start soon. I hope that it will be like synchronized with this, but who knows? If there's an overlap, that's not a big deal either. Oh, they're into the third set already, so it looks like I might actually be in luck. It might be very pleasant for me with the ITF final wrapping up more or less at the same time as Darderi Baez, and then I will be able to watch the challenger final in Bernie before going to bed. Ooh, yeah, that's a +1 forehand that Baez was hitting in his sleep in the second set. And he goes love 15 down. Good for him if the shot will not suddenly start leaking errors like that, but who knows. This is better, however, does he claim the point? I think he should. Although it's some decent defense from Darderi as well, saving one of these big forehands from Baez, but the next one he will not be able to fend off. Oh, the next one was technically still in play from him, but this time Baez managed to get this drive that was really easy into the open court. Definitely Darderi is leaving a lot to Baez in this match since the beginning of the second set. In a way, maybe also in the first set, but Baez was just unable to capitalize at all. Maybe he still won't be. I mean, maybe this is how Luciano Darderi wins this match, but it's Baez taking the risks. And we have another point like that where he just has Darderi flying all over the court. And the Italian plays a pretty poor lob here. It wasn't even over Baez's head. I don't think he hit it cleanly at all. 30-15 for the Argentinian, who really had to work for the point here. Some of the defensive footwork from Darderi is really impressive. The way he got this back as well, that was quite unpleasant. Baez has the forehand slice approach. Obviously not his perfect, not his favorite play in the world. However, Darderi then can't quite find the lob, which would have been a point-winning shot, like almost for sure, if it was just like, pretty well executed. But that's another +1 forehand from Baez. Struggles with the cheap return from Darderi here. Second serve as well. I don't know if it actually matters all that much for Sebastian Baez or for Luciano Darderi in this match. For Darderi, it probably does. For Baez, I'm not really sure. However, yeah, actually, Darderi managed to get an aggressive return in, and it wasn't anything like a winner of any sorts, but he manages to get it, like just get the first strike in, and it's really important. This sort of like high percentage first shot of the rally that you can be aggressive with. However, he can't make the next return, which was actually a lot more doable, I think. Well, perhaps not to be offensive with it, but just to get it in. But yeah, for Darderi, his first serve and second serve stats are pretty similar. It's for Baez where the dip is noticeable, which is very interesting because just from watching this match and sort of thinking of how they serve, you wouldn't really think of these patterns. Anyway, is that shot out? I guess it is. Yeah, the umpire probably not gonna check even since Baez is not complaining. Baez knows that he missed. So one more breakpoint for Luciano Darderi. And as we are again seeing just a few cracks, let's say, in the Baez game. That's rough. I think Darderi got really tense on this return. It just felt like he never really executed the motion properly. He never even gave himself a chance. He was like sort of just cramped, his hand very close to his body, his arm, maybe I should say. It does feel like the tension was pretty high there. Still deuce, but he does miss a pretty makeable opportunity here. But to his credit, he's now taking matters into his own hands a little bit. Finds this forehand down the line, a lot of shape on it of the backhand slice of Baez, and he gets another break point. This time Baez will need to hit a second serve, BP down. How meaningful will that be? It's a very decent second serve, actually, and Darderi will not put the return back in play. But quite a bit of risk, it seems, for Baez here. I know the speed of the serve, it maybe wasn't huge. However, the placement on it, yeah, we can see on the replay as well. Baez again in control of the next point with the forehand, but can he claim it? No, and he opens up the angle for Darderi quite a lot, and Darderi just blasts this forehand down the line to claim the point. Another break point, as we have another mammoth game in this match. A game that might be so vital in regards to who ends up taking it. And again, that very heavy forehand return that Darderi just sets himself up for because he positions himself really far behind the baseline. He plays this heavy shot, very deep, tries to get Baez away from an attacking position, just try to make it a little harder for Sebastian to overwhelm him with the forehand aggression, and Baez makes the error. So 3-1 up, a break for Darderi now, and this is looking really interesting for the Italian, who is just 3 holds away from breaking the top 100. And of course, doing it with an ATP Tour final would be a lot more meaningful and a lot more important for him as well than doing it, let's say, with a challenger semi somewhere. But still, Baez has a lot of opportunities potentially, especially as he's been the more dominant force with the forehand aggression that he can cook up. But right now, his margins for error has just been lowered pretty significantly. And let's see how he can handle that. If maybe like in the opening set, in a situation like that, he's going to falter and he's going to start giving it away a bit. But maybe he's actually going to step up. And again, he gets the error from Baez. I think this is actually just how heavy he plays the forehand, because he plays this forehand cross and it bounces so high. It's just tough for Baez to attack from it. And the error is a little forced, even if, of course, it will go into the unforced error category in terms of, the stats. But it is a bit forced by how heavy Darderi hits that forehand. Is this another error? Yeah, this one, I mean, Baez didn't have to do. I mean, they didn't make this one. Yeah. This is just a regulation ball he's trying to hit. He's not trying to go for it. He's not trying to be aggressive with this. So 3 game points for Darderi to lead 4-1, which obviously would be pretty huge and put him just 2 holds away, 2 games away even. It doesn't have to be holds, obviously, in order to break the top 100. And it's an ace. Luciano Darderi, 4-1 up now. Very, very close to getting a massive milestone. Preston Brown is playing the qualifying in Delray Beach? Really? I mean, he is like 1,000 in the ATP rankings. I guess he must have been the only alternate on site, but that's wild. Yeah, basically, the alternate list went down to 278, and Preston Brown must have been really low on it. But of course, he was in Delray, and others weren't. Yeah, he was 24th alternate on the qualies to. No, sorry, 48th alternate on the qualies to Delray, and he still made it. The guy is a bit of a legend because he is like on the entry list for every single challenger, every single ATP event, and it's usually on the bottom side of it because he is around 1,000 in the rankings. But yeah, he's playing Terence Atmana, and of course he's not winning, but that's still pretty insane that he managed to get in. Anyway, 4-1 Darderi. Let's see if he can keep going. Does he find that forehand down the line? I think it's been called out. The umpire tells him that it's out as well. But there's been a bit more proactive tennis in the past few minutes, few games from Darderi, and also the way he's just hitting so heavy and trying to keep Baez away from being on the attack. It's a better patch for him for sure. And now a forehand return winner as well. I think Baez was letting this go, but the topspin on it actually makes it fall into the court and in front of the line as well. Nice forehand dropper from Baez. Really leaves Darderi stunned here. Wow, that's a huge forehand. That's probably the fastest that he's hit all match. Again, inside in. That's been his friend this match, and he's really trying to go after this break here. Like he's 4-1 up, and he's not just willing to stop here. 2 more errors from Baez, and he might be 1-5 down. But it's actually Darderi who's gonna crack here. Just needed to get to that ball, just a couple more steps forward, and he would have had a good contact point on it. But this one, he just had to slide the racket under the ball and didn't get any control on it. But 40-30 Baez. Let's see if the defending champion can claim this game. Darderi with the slice. He defends pretty well here. Decent recovery, but he loses the point eventually. 4-2 up, still two more holds, but let's see if he can keep producing them. Now it's a longish rally, and it's Baez who cracks first, trying to step into the forehand inside out. Again, how much topspin Darderi puts on the ball, it's been an important part of this rally, this miss as well. Just the way that Baez can't quite overwhelm him as effectively as he was doing it in the second set, for example. Darderi spreading the court with the forehand. There's a lot more pace on this one now. Baez on this, Baez slicing, and Darderi tries to go for too much inside out here. Just a crazy angle that he was trying to find. This one is much better though. He cracks it and he should get a, well, I wanted to say he should get a smash here. He actually lets it bounce and hits a forehand, but it doesn't matter. The outcome is the same, 30-15. Great recovery from Baez, but Darderi is still in the point after that half volley, and he makes the first error. That was a really good shot from Baez. I think Darderi is still claiming that maybe it was out, but he kept playing anyway. So it doesn't matter at this point, but yeah, the counter from Baez very far outside of the court. That was the key shot, really, to let him get back into the point here. And now we're starting to see some nerves from Darderi as well. It's going to be a break point for Sebastian Baez, 30-40. The first serve is miles out. And the second serve as well. Oh my goodness. It's a total breakdown for Darderi now. And he throws away this game. And we are back on serve. The Darderi box is clearly, tough. It's tough for them to handle this. which you have to understand it, because he really threw away this game for no reason other than just getting a bit nervy, closer to the finish line, closer to the top 100, close to picking up a big win. Let's see if Baez punishes him. As I said, there was an interesting match on the last weekend, between Baez and Dimitri Popko in Davis Cup, where there was a lot of choking involved from both sides. And Baez actually looked like he was going to throw this match away himself, eventually keeping the trust, keeping the belief in his forehand. So we kind of know that Baez will be going for it again, but he won't stop going for his shots, but we'll see. But that's a pretty major choke if we see him losing this match from this position. Or maybe if he gets a few more chances, or maybe now Baez plays something insane, then maybe we'll forget about this. But to get broken like this with the 2 double faults in a row, and I think that was also these were his first double faults of the match as well. But let's see. He has a lot of time, a lot of chance to recover here. But now he's just wild. Now he's just spraying. Now it's Sebastian Baez pretty content with giving him the ball and seeing what Darderi comes up with, because most of the time he's going to come up with errors if he's this tight. A bit of an accidental return on the line for Darderi, but to his credit, he then steps into the inside in forehand very well. So 15-30. It's good for him again to just stop the bleeding. It's a net court that's probably going to save Darderi in the end. Again, he's able to just save himself with a very defensive moon ball. Just put the ball back in play, capitalize on the fact that Baez probably will have a harder time just blasting the shot off the ground, that sort of a shot off the ground, than most players given his height. And he manages to find eventually a pretty decent pass that also clips the net, and it's hard for Baez to recover. And now it's a breakpoint for Darderi, completely out of nowhere. This match has some very weird turns, where suddenly one of the players has a lot of momentum on their side, and then they blow it in a second, and then there's a few points that just get given away, essentially. And let's see. I mean, we are literally one Baez error now from Darderi serving for the match, and he's again playing all these heavy shots to give Baez issues. But I think Baez will probably... No! He won't take it. That was a short ball that he totally should have capitalized on. But he gives the ball to Darderi. He still makes him hit a pretty low margin backhand pass down the line, and Darderi actually finds it. That one last shot from Darderi, it wasn't deep, but Baez really didn't do enough here, and Darderi anticipates well as well and just fires that backhand down the line pass. Great stuff from him too, despite Baez certainly making a bit of an error here. And let's see if the attempt to serve it out will be good. It's a drop shot from Darderi now. And does he pass Baez, or is the shot out? I don't even know. It was really close. I think it might be out. But Let's see. Yeah, it is out. Again, just bailing himself out of this rally with the drop shot pass combo. I don't think it was called for, really, but we'll see. Baez will be checking that serve. And it is out indeed. Darderi is complaining now, but I don't know. I would like to see a replay, but on the actual mark that they're showing, it doesn't seem like it's particularly close. So I think it would be in Darderi's best interest to just stop that discussion now and keep going. Let's see the replay isn't perfect. I think it's probably long though. This time he gets the return and the second serve in play. That's already something. And he fires a forehand inside in winner. That's balls, actually. Like balls, a bit of bravery, a bit of stupid bravery, maybe even from Darderi here, but it works, so it's fine. It's much better than his effort at 4-2 Ferdiol, of course, when he had 2 consecutive double faults to get broken. So it is 15-0, and he's 3 points away. And Baez makes the sloppy, the tight error with the backhand slice, throwing it out. So 30-15, just 2 points away from the top 100, Luciano Darderi, and it's on his serve as well. Backhand cross now. Darderi in control of the point, and he misses the inside in. Yeah, I mean, nothing is easy right now for either player, really, to be honest. There's a lot of nerves. There's a lot of tension in the air. You can cut it with a knife. And even that semi-routine inside in that he has been hitting very well in this match, it definitely didn't feel routine at all under these circumstances. Let's see, second serve. Oh my goodness, that's so lucky for Darderi. I mean, come on. He even says sorry, but yeah. I mean, he went for this +1 forehand cross, and maybe it wasn't hit too cleanly. I think it also bounced off the line, and basically by the time it reached Baez, it was so low that the Argentinian didn't really get a good hit on it. Even second serve for Darderi, match point up. What will Baez do here? He's trying to stay on top of the point, of course, with the forehand. Now they're trading backhands a little bit. Darderi not playing too deep now. But again, that recovery in the forehand corner is really good with the heavy shot. But no, he makes the first error. Backhand cross. So deuce, not over yet. Baez saves himself for now. He rolls the second serve in play, and he gets the point from Baez with the heavy forehand. Plays it pretty deep, and it's enough. One more match point to bring him one more match point. Again, one more point to break the top 100 to make the Cordoba final. Really, the stakes here are enormous for Darderi. He's really rushing it as well between first and second serve. Like, you can see that he just wants to get this over with, obviously. He plays a slice, a couple of slices actually. He's afraid of hitting his backhand right now, I think. He finally goes for it a couple of times, but it's pretty short. Yeah, Baez will attack him here, and he will get the point. Yeah, he can't afford to be this short on the backhand, you know? He can afford to be fairly short, I think, but not this short. So one, again, deuce, and just getting over the finish line here, that won't be easy. Is that an ace? I think it is. I mean, it's insane to get a point like this at this stage, you know, when clearly he is really struggling to get over it. Brave stupid balls, yeah. It was like a bit of brave stupidity in that second point of the game, indeed. But yeah, third match point for Luciano Darderi. And it's a good serve. I mean, if he doesn't take it here, and he takes it, yeah. He falls on the floor. He is extremely, extremely proud of himself here. And he should be. I mean, what a run. Absolutely insane to pull this off, to only have one ATP Tour main draw win before this week, which was, by the way, also in Cordoba last year, and to actually find this run to the final, and also to play Facundo Bagnis there. Like, this is an actual opportunity for him, you know? And yeah, I mean, what an insane performance too. In the second set, he was outplayed completely, but overall, that serve was coming huge for him. Also, just the way that he was playing that forehand so heavy as usual, and just recovering very well from the defensive positions with it. Also, yeah, just keeping Baez from attacking freely, because as we've said a few times, Baez is a bit of a forehand offensive bot. Even if some people throw him into the Diego Schwartzman category, they play very different tennis. So Baez really likes to, you know, step into the court, take that forehand pretty early, and manage to just spread the court with it, eventually get that opportunity to claim the point. And Darderi just takes that away from him a little bit, for sure. So yeah, I mean, that's a very impressive win for the Italian, and he manages to break the top 100. And tomorrow, the final in Cordoba, Facundo Bagnis, Luciano Darderi. What an insane opportunity for both players. Bagnis, of course, getting his second challenger ATP Tour final. The first one being in Santiago 3 years ago, where I think he lost to Christian Garin. I would have to check that, but I think it was Christian Garin. And of course, this time it's the first opportunity for Luciano Darderi, who only had one ATP main draw win before this week. So pretty insane for him to make the final right away. Was it Christian Garin? Yes, it was Christian Garin against Facundo Bagnis in the 2021 Santiago final, where Facundo was actually very close to getting it done. So it's a great opportunity for both players, and we will have a maiden ATP Tour champion tomorrow. We might have one more maiden ATP Tour champion tomorrow if Marcos Giron can claim the title in Dallas. However, we are guaranteed one in Cordoba. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attention. It was a pretty entertaining match. I'm glad that we got watch along from the Golden Swing in this week as well, just to sort of make sure that we have all the bases, all the surfaces, all the conditions covered. I did, obviously I was going to watch this anyway. Darderi's match for the top 100, and it was fun to do it on stream. Thanks to everyone in the chat, and we can finally wrap this up. And well, I'm saying finally, it wasn't that long, but it kind of feels long given it's almost 3 a.m. for me. But as I said, still a challenger final for me to follow soon. So not going to bed yet anyway. But thank you for your for listening, and thank you for your comments. And we'll see you guys in some other watch-alongs in the near future. Am I supposed to click end stream? Because, well, John was back at some point, but I guess I'm going to click end stream then, since apparently maybe he's not here anymore. Once again, thank you.